Dear friends, welcome to InQuEST, in-depth analysis and to the point. In this video, let us discuss about editorials of the newspapers for the month of September 2021, and this is video number 2. And this activity is useful for your UPSC mains in general studies and essay writing, KPSC and other state public service commission examinations, and any other competitive examination wherein essay writing is one of the components. Dear friends, the content that we would be discussing here will be given in the form of PDF down in the description box of the video. You may also download the same after watching the video. And the article that we are discussing today is redefining responsibility of industries towards environment. So dear friends, we all know the importance of industries for the economic growth of any country. At the same time, they should also be environment centric to make sure that the society embraces industrial sector with open arms. Now, let us see the gist of this article, what author is trying to emphasize more upon. So in this article, the author emphasizes or correlates the industrial sector versus agricultural sector in terms of their contribution towards GDP and employment. And here he majorly emphasizes that industrial diversification is more important than industrial revolution. So all these years we were for industrial revolution, but this article says that not just revolution, the diversification is important to make sure that they also take care of the environment. Now, how this is going to be achieved? This can be achieved by making industries more responsive towards community and nature. So when they become more responsive towards community and nature, and this becomes the activities that are environment centric to achieve sustainability, only then we can see that people or society embraces the industries with open arms, so that the industries will be looked as boon to the society but not the bane. So now let us discuss the entire article in detail. Before that, let us see the relevance of this article for your examination. So this is a part of your essay writing, definitely, no doubt. And also, if you look at the syllabus copy in general studies 2, there is development processes and development industry. So this is where you can use such articles to discuss about. And along with that, in case of GS3, Indian economy and issues relating to planning, mobilization of resources, growth and development and employment, and inclusive growth and issues arising from it, and effect of liberalization on the economy, changes in the industrial policy and their effects on industrial growth, conservation, environmental pollution and degradation, environmental impact assessment. So all these areas, these kind of articles are very much relevant. And if you look at the previous year's question papers in 2017 GS3 UPSC Civil Services Mains examination, there was a question that question number 12, industrial growth rate has lagged behind the overall growth of GDP in post-reform period. So this component you're supposed to discuss for 7 marks, and you are supposed to give reasons. How far the recent changes in the industrial policies are capable of increasing the industrial growth rate. So this you are supposed to discuss for about 8 marks, and total marks is 15, and you need to write around 250 words on this particular question. So in such questions in future, you may use the content that we will be discussing here in this article. Now let us start learning about this article. Before that, let us see the flow chart of this in entirety. So first thing that we would be discussing about importance of industrial sector. Second, we would be discussing here is the problems that are created by industrial sector. And third thing, so what is the buzzwords in the era of industrial revolution and now? So what is the change in dimension between industrial revolution and what we are actually looking for today is what we're going to discuss as the third component. And the fourth component that we would be discussing here is why they don't invest on pollution control system. So what is the reason why they don't take care of pollution control? And the fifth component is importance exhibited by industries so far. Are they economic centric or environment centric so far is what we are supposed to discuss. And the last component, when will people or society embrace industrial sector like agriculture sector? So this is what we're going to be discussing. Now, the first component, the importance of industrial sector. So economic development and human welfare is not possible without industrialization and scientific innovation. So this is quite evident. So any country, if that has to grow economically, so that should have a lot of industrialization and scientific innovation that also helps in human welfare. Without industrialization, economic prosperity cannot be achieved. Although agriculture contributes the maximum to India's GDP and employed the maximum workforce all through the 20th century, the scenario in industrialized modern India is different. So post-independence, I mean to say throughout the 20th century, agriculture contributed majorly to India's GDP and also created a lot of workforce, in the sense, a lot of employment creation. But the scenario in industrialized modern India is different. So let us see how it is different. The industrial sector contributes to 30% to the GDP, while the contribution from the agricultural sector is 17%. So you can see the difference between the contribution of industrial sector versus agricultural sector towards the GDP of the country. So it is almost 50% more in industrial sector compared to agricultural sector. So the industrial ecosystem employs more skilled, unskilled, marginal workers compared to agricultural sector. Not only GDP is favorable in case of industrial sector, but also the employment creation is more in industrial sector compared to agricultural sector. So in addition to GDP and employment contribution, the industrial ecosystem enhances land, resource value, infrastructure, and facilitates international trade, thereby elevating the living standard of the people. So this is very, very important. This cannot be achieved with agricultural sector. So wherever there is development of industrial ecosystem, that enhances land, resource value, infrastructure, and it also helps in international trade. And this in turn helps in living this, uplifting or anyway elevating the living standard of people. And this is not possible to this extent with the help of agricultural sector. So that is the importance of industrial sector in comparison to agricultural sector. Now let us see the problems. See, not everything is as green as we saw in the previous slide. There are some problems created by industrial sector as well. So the problems are, the industrial activities are often associated with increased levels of pollution that we all know. Now, environmental pollution reduces the quality of natural ecosystem parameters like air, water, and soil fertility, which are the basic needs of a safe and healthy living, thereby turning people against the industrial ecosystem in their neighborhood. So since they create a lot of pollution, the basic necessities of living like air, water, and soil fertility is going to be destroyed. So this is the reason why people turn against industrial ecosystem in their neighborhood. And any amount of economic benefit, irrespective of the benefits that we saw in the previous slide, the economic benefits and lift in the living standards of people with respect to industrial sector cannot be compensated for the threatened ecological comforts of people. So when it threatens to the environment or comfort living of the people by creating pollution, it cannot be accepted or embraced. So this is the problem majorly created by industries. This may be a contributing reason why our society does not consider the industrial ecosystem the backbone of the country. So this is in summary that why we don't consider industries as the backbone of our country, even though its contribution to GDP and employment is great compared to agricultural sector because of the problems that is being created by industrial sector. Now let us see what is the buzzwords between industrial revolution versus today. During the course of the industrial revolution, the buzzwords in the sectors were increased production. So it was only economic centric basically. So to tell you to tell in one word, so this is to increase production, increase profitability, and increase revenue, and all that should be done soon. And currently, when the industries start experiencing shortage in natural raw materials, So as we exploit raw materials continuously, definitely we're going to feel the shortage, or we're going to suffer the shortage of natural raw materials today or currently. So we see other buzzwords. See, look at the change in buzzwords today, like reduced per capita water, reduced per capita energy, and reduced per capita labor. So earlier during industrial revolution, it was mostly economic centric. They were looking for increased production, increased profitability, and increased revenue. Now we are thinking about the resources. So reduced per capita, water, reduced per capita energy, and reduced per capita labor as well. Thus, industrial ecosystems always look at increasing or decreasing something. So they are never been constant. They are always trying to increase or decrease something, which is completely linear approach. So in the next slide, I'll tell you what is the difference between, there are two kinds of approach. One is linear approach and other one is the circular approach. I'll tell you what is the difference between linear and circular approach. So far, in industrial revolution, we have witnessed only linear approach in case of industrial sector. Now, since the beginning of industrialization, now let us see what is the importance exhibited by industries so far. So since the beginning of industrialization, the industrial ecosystem has only paid attention to products, almost ignoring the accumulating of byproduct. That means they worried about only products. They never bothered about the pollution that is created by industries, that we can term it as byproducts of the industry. The industry has not paid much attention to inventing diversification to use the byproducts emanating from industrial activities as seen in the natural ecosystem. So they don't bother about byproducts and reusing of byproducts, only they concentrated upon the production of goods. That's all. So they never try to invest on diversification to make sure that happens, similar to the natural ecosystem, wherein the reuse and recycle is one of the important components or parameters. This continued negligence of industries concentrating only on industrial revolution rather than diversification. So the need of the hour is not revolution. Basically, it is diversification to make sure that activities are environment or community centric, has resulted in accumulation of byproducts in nature as waste, leading to pollution. So industrial revolution led to accumulation of byproducts that led to the pollution of the places or the country. Hence, there is an urgent necessary for the industry to shift from typical linear approach ecosystem to circular ecosystem approach as seen in nature. So what is linear approach? So linear approach is like you take and you're going to make products and you're going to consume and finally you're going to waste. So this is linear approach. So it just goes in one direction. You take the raw materials, you make the products, you consume it, and you waste the byproducts that are going to be produced. But in case of circular approach, so you take the raw materials, you make the products, you consume the products, and the waste that is going to be generated, that should be recycled and recycled or reused. So this is what is the approach that we are going to be seeing in circular ecosystem. So the cycle repeats. This is two-way communication, or circular communication or circular process. So in case of linear approach, it just goes in one direction. The waste that is going to be produced is of no use in case of linear approach. But now we are insisting for circular approach rather than the linear approach. So industrial diversification rather than industrial revolution. So diversification in the sense, the circular ecosystem, revolution was always linear approach. So industrial revolution is the need of the hour, where the byproduct, in one word to say, the waste products of the industry becomes the raw material for another industry. So the waste produced by one industry should become raw material for another industry, following the principles of 5R, like reduce, reuse, recycle, recover, and replenish. So this is what is the emphasis that should be given today. But all these years, the industries gave importance only to the linear approach, not to the circular approach. Now let us see why they don't invest on pollution control system. Now this was very important because they should have invested, or they should have created some room for investing on pollution control. Even though there are efficient pollution control systems like ultrafiltration, reverse osmosis, biodigesters, and etc., that prevents water pollution, and equipments like baghouse, wet scrubber, venture scrubbers, and all these to prevent air pollution, they never bother to use these things because many a time the industries look at the economics and feel that an investment on pollution control system will not yield direct profit or benefit. So all they need is the direct money, the tangible profit that they gain for their betterment, but not on the environment. So that is the reason why they are reluctant to invest money on pollution control system. And this, because they don't produce any direct profit to them. So for getting the tangible and intangible benefits accrued over a period of time on environment, had they invested on pollution control system, that would have helped for the tangible and intangible changes with respect to the environment. So this is the reason why they don't invest on pollution control, because it is not going to reap them any profits directly. Now, when will people embrace industrial sectors? This is the final question that we are supposed to answer here. Since the ecological parameters like quality of air, quality of drinking water, fertility of soil, etc. are threatened, the public agitate against the existence of industries in their backyard. Despite industries taking up initiatives to ensure the economic welfare of the people, because of the problems created by these industries, the society does not embrace such activities. Industries must become more responsible towards the community and nature by shifting their attitude from being economic centric to environment centric to achieve sustainability. So this is the summary of everything. They should shift from economic centric to environment centric approach. This is when the people try to embrace them. So they need to ensure that the quality of ecosystem parameters in and around the industry is maintained and enhanced. The industrial ecosystem should adopt the principles of the natural ecosystem of cyclic approach rather than linear approach. So that is when the society embraces industries with open arms, and industrialization will be viewed as boon rather than bane. So this is what is the complete article about. So they should not be eco-centric, they should be environment centric, they should stop linear approach, they should come to cyclic approach. So with this, I am concluding this session. If you have any doubts, you may put in comments box. We will try to answer to your questions. Thanks for watching. Namaskara.